Just as a disclaimer, we want you to know that some of the movies that we will be reviewing were shot in a different time and era where people of race and sex were not treated equally. We understand this and hope you do too. The movies or anything that happened on the sets are not the views of this podcast or what this show is intended to be all about.
Exactly. And we want to give due diligence in presenting the movie and not the views of the cast or directors or anyone involved. But we also feel it's necessary to let the audience know some of the background information to get a feel for what was happening at the time of shooting the film. Again, we hope you understand that we do not agree with everything that went on, and we just want to give out the information. And with that being said, hope you enjoy the show.
There is a fifth dimension, beyond that which is known to man. It is a dimension as vast as space and as timeless as infinity. It is the middle ground between light and shadow, between science and superstition, and it lies between the pit of man's fears and the summit of his knowledge. This is the dimension of imagination. It is an area which we call the Twilight Zone.
Welcome to Tragedy of Cinema. I am the co-host, Terence.
And I'm the host, Jimbo. We thought we'd throw a little swerve because you have entered the Twilight Zone.
And you have entered the fifth dimension beyond. I wish I remembered it. It's such a great thing. Anyway, and then we have our guest, Patrick. Good night.
Hello, audience.
Terrence likes to say the viewers, not listeners.
Yeah, viewers. Did I say listeners this time? I think I said listeners.
So, yeah, this is going to be the kickoff of the Twilight Zone series we're going to be doing. We're going to cover all 167 episodes, I believe. So this is season 1, episode 1. Here we go.
Yeah.
The title was Where Is Everybody? And it aired October. October. Yeah, that's why I think about our listeners. Where's everybody? No, it aired October 2nd from 1959, which, you know, Patrick was about 8 years older by then. It was directed by Robert Stevens, written by Rod Sterling. The featured music original score by Bernard Herrmann. What did he do? Do you remember us talking about it? Psycho.
Oh,
for Psycho.
Yep, yeah, that's right.
Which I thought was really cool. Cinematography by Joseph Lachelle and editing by Roland Gross. The plot, simple. It was a man dressed in a U.S. Air Force flight suit wakes up all alone in a town. To make matters worse, he can't remember who he is or how he got there.
Yeah. So good.
The cast, Earl Holliman as Mike Ferris, James Gregory as the General, and Gary Wahlberg as the Colonel. So let's go ahead and talk about this episode a little bit. Terrence, why don't you go ahead and start us off, and Pat, if you want to interject as he's going along about stuff that happened. Or should we let Pat start it off and you fill in?
Yeah, go ahead. Fill in.
So what happens? What happens? You say that you give the Twilight Zone narration, then what do you see?
Well, basically, he wakes up and he starts walking down the street and he realizes, hey, I'm hungry. So he goes into a diner and he hollers for food multiple times.
He's like, I'll take my eggs over easy or something.
And he looks around and comes to the realization that, hey, there's nobody here. So he then pretends to go outside and look around, and then he goes from building to building and realizes, hey, there's nobody around. So
well, then he looks over and he's like, hey, miss, miss. he runs over there and it's a mannequin. Yeah. So he's like, what? And then he goes inside the building. There's a bunch of mannequins.
Yeah.
And you're like, wow, where is this going?
I want to throw in a fun fact, and it's so I didn't watch I've watched the Twilight Zone before in the past, but I didn't watch the first episode of Twilight Zone until, I don't know, about 2 years ago. So when I was watching this, I totally watching this whole thing and him going around. I'm like, this isn't some kind of nuke test site, is it? Or like in the end, you never know though, right? I'm like, oh, like is it just at the end he realizes where he's at and he's in this test zone and they don't know he's there and they blow it up? I was so scared.
Well, what's really cool is he hears that bell ringing at the school or church or whatever. I remember he hears that, and then he goes in that one building. And there's the cigarette still burning. Yeah. He's like, what is going on? You know what I mean? And
there's always like these little signs throughout of like, is someone here?
He goes into a jail and there's like the shaving stuff still there, remember? And somebody had just been shaving. Yeah. And as he's standing there, there's cinematography, the jail door, you see the shadow closing. Yep. And he's like, whoa, and he kicks the door open. He's like, what's, And so he's starting to break, dude. He's starting to break down. Go ahead, Patrick, take it away.
Well, after he comes to the realization that somebody's watching him, he starts running around. So then he goes and heads over to the movie theater. And he goes in and he's hollering for people, hey, I'm here. Is there anybody here? And, of course, there's nobody around. So the movie starts playing. So he gets freaked out and he starts going up and he looks up at the projector and he goes up there, hey, is there anybody here? Is there anybody here? And that's when he realizes, hey, there's something going on. And he starts panicking and he runs out of the... out into the lobby, and then he runs.
Remember when he goes out into the street and he falls down or whatever? He looks up and there's
he runs out and hits the mirror in the lobby.
Right. Yeah. But then when he falls down or whatever, he looks up and there's that eye looking at him, and it's actually a poster from one of the movies or whatever. You know what I mean? And he's like, "They're looking at me. They're watching me. They're watching me." And so then you get a flash over to people sitting in like chairs, and it's all like army generals and colonels and all this, and they're all sitting there and. They're watching this little television screen, and it's the guy, and he's like, they're watching me, me, you know, and they're like, well, he's had enough, pull the plug or whatever. So
get him out.
Yeah. So they go over there to this little, I don't know, what would you call it? Container, I guess.
Yeah, he was in a box.
Yeah, it's kind of like a box with like one of them old, like the top. Have you ever seen the top of the submarine, the ones with the big turn? Things? And they go over there, they undo it, and they open up the door. And he's slumped over. He's broken the glass. They're like, careful, he's broke his hand because he's beaten against the glass thing and broke it. And he's got all these wires attached to him. Yep. And so they start, Corporal, you okay? You okay? You know, taking off the thing, and they end up putting him in the thing. So then the press comes in, which I thought was really interesting. The press.
Oh, yeah.
And Patrick, would you like to take it away?
Well, the press starts asking questions about how long he was in there.
And it was ridiculous. Like,
it was 434
hours.
Yeah, it's 487 hours. Basically the equivalent of about 2 weeks.
Yep. And they said he was in there so long that you can make a trip to the moon and back multiple times or something. Which I thought was... The fact that I'm going to throw in right here is...
Oh, what we were talking about earlier.
Terence, I said, Terence, I was like, when did we land on the moon? If we landed on the moon for those conspirators. And so I had him look it up, and it was in November 1969.
10 years after this episode
10 years after this episode aired. So Rod Serling was a man ahead of his time.
Well, see, there's always the... I'm not even going to say argument. I guess it's a bit of a debate of like, is science fiction predicting the future, or is science fiction affecting and what do you call it?
Creating,
inspiring the future. So like, you know, you get some young kid who watches the Twilight Zone and was like, "That's amazing," and I want to do that, and then grows up, becomes whatever, an engineer, technician, all this other stuff, and then ends up being a big part of what ends up creating that sort of quote unquote sci-fi aspect, and then now it's a real thing.
Right. But what was really cool about this though is when they're carrying him out in the gurney, you know, they got him in there, and he's looking up at the moon. Yeah. And he's like, "Don't go away." He's like, "I'll be back up there soon," you know, or whatever. He's like, but because the colonel's like, he was talking to his the person in charge. He's like, but I wasn't alone, was I? He's like, "No, not this time." He's like, "But next time I will be." And they're like, yeah, you will. So it was kind of foreshadowing, you know,
being up in space,
the moon, and being alone. Mm-hmm. Really well done. So Serling's original plot, we're going to talk about this, for the Twilight Zone was The Happy Place, which revolved around a society in which people were executed upon reaching the age of 60.
Oh, wow.
Because they're no longer useful. I was like, holy cow. CBS executive William Self rejected the story, feeling it was too dark. Serling eventually relented and wrote Where Is Everybody as a more acceptable substitute. Unlike other episodes, which were filmed at Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer, Where Is Everybody was filmed at Universal Studios using Courthouse Square as the episode's Oakwood town.
I would also watch that original concept. That would be very interesting.
And what was always cool is when you watch The Twilight Zone, Rod Serling always has an introduction and he always has an ending.
Yeah.
This is the closing narration. The barrier of loneliness, the palpable, desperate need of the human animal to be with his fellow man. Up there in the vastness of space, in the void that is sky, up there is an enemy known as isolation. It sits there in the stars, waiting with the patience of eons, forever waiting in the Twilight Zone.
You gotta, if you're gonna read the outro, you gotta read the intro.
Well, I don't know if there really was an intro in this one.
Oh, in this, but it played the intro,
right? The intro, yes, but I'm talking about his narration.
Oh, the outro.